They're super expensive. They have a really stupid case. You can't turn them off. You charge them via Lightning rather than USB-C. Condensation builds up in the ear cups. There's loads of cheaper, better options. But I think I've worked out why you might want to buy the AirPods Max. Welcome back to Mark Ellis Reviews, and thank you as always for subscribing if you have. If you haven't, click the button. Easy. So I've been using the AirPods Max since early January when they arrived. And before they came, I made lots of assumptions about them. I thought they were way too expensive. I hated the fact you apparently couldn't turn them off. I got very worried about the condensation issue, which I'll come to later on. And I couldn't, I'll be honest, stop laughing at this stupid case. And I also wondered how on earth they could compete with my beloved Sony XM4s, which are hanging over there, which I love those headphones. But I do think, now that I've used these AirPods Max, that my initial thoughts and assumptions were a little bit wide of the mark. What's more, they might be right for you. They may not, but they might be right for you. And in this video, I'm going to tell you about my experiences using them and try and get to the bottom of who they're for. I think it's really important with the AirPods Max to distinguish the two questions that people are asking about them. There's one crowd who are saying, why would you buy AirPods Max? And that crowd, these headphones are not for them at all. They're too expensive, they have no end of shortcomings. If you are asking why you would ever buy these, they're not for you, 100%, and that's absolutely fine. And also, Apple knows that. However, if you're asking, should I buy these? That's a completely different question. You're asking, should I buy them? Because one, you like the look of them, and two, because of the price. They're $549. They're not cheap by any stretch of the imagination. They're really expensive headphones. I think when Apple launches something which is a bit controversial, people will jump on them and they'll start just to be nasty about it. And I've never understood that. I've never understood the platform wars. You know, this is tech, it's not football. So I just want to reassure you that if you want a pair of these, that is totally fine. And in this video, I'm going to try and help you decide whether it's worth spending all of that money on them. So the competition, there's no end of competition for AirPods Max. There's no getting away from that. And most of it, in fact, all of it, comes at a lesser cost. Now, I've picked out four here just to talk about very briefly. I am going to be doing a bit of a over-the-ear headphone shootout in a little while, so stay tuned for that. But I want to talk very briefly about four headphones which I think the AirPods Max are competing against. The first one is the Sony XM4s, which have been my go-to headphones for ages. They cost about $280, although you can get them for less than that occasionally, and sometimes they're more expensive, but they are a brilliant pair of headphones. They've got what most people will agree as being the best noise cancelling on the market, and they sound utterly fantastic. Then you have the Sennheiser Momentum, and I've had these recently, and they are superb. If you've ever used Sennheiser stuff, they are very big in pro audio, so they do mics and things for top artists and what have you on stage, but their line of consumer headphones largely goes unnoticed. And the reason I want to mention the Momentums is because they're very similar in terms of the sound profile, I think, personally, to the AirPods Max, and very similar to the XM4s as well. You've then got the B&O H9s, the third generation. Now, I've included those in this list because they're very aesthetic. You know, like most Bang & Olufsen stuff, they are designed very heavily. They're an acquired taste, they're not for everyone at all, but they do this brilliant thing, as they have always done, B&O, which is they have combined fantastic sound with just completely unmissable, unmistakable design. They're not cheap, they're about $400, although you can again get them cheaper here and there, so they sit somewhere between the XM4s and the AirPods Max. You then finally got the Jabra 85H, which are from arguably more of a sports headphone manufacturer, and they have some interesting features. For example, they're the only headphones that I've mentioned that have a rated water resistance. And again, they sound fantastic, they're very comfortable. The point here, and like I say, I'm going to do a proper shootout between all these headphones at some stage, but the point being that if you put any of those headphones on, whether it's the AirPods Max, the XM4s, the Momentum, Bang & Olufsen's, the Jabras, if you put them on, unless you're an audiophile, they're going to sound fantastic. We do live in an era now, thankfully, where most headphones above the kind of $100, $200 mark sound superb. They all have different features, they all have different cases, they have different ways of operating, turning on, and all the rest of it. And the AirPods Max do have the benefit of having the chip within them, which makes them very easy to switch between Apple devices. But these are all little things which will sway your decision one way or the other. And it really is based on, if you go totally based on price, it's very difficult to suggest that you should buy the AirPods Max over any of those other headphones that I've mentioned. But you're still watching this video, And to me, that means that the AirPods Max are really, really piquing your interest. So here's my experience of them. Now, design is a very subjective thing, I know that. Now, when I first unboxed these, the first thing that struck me was the size. I was expecting them to be bigger than they are, and they're actually pretty compact. More compact than they look on video and in product shots. But in terms of the design itself, it is stunning. I know this is subjective. You'd be hard pressed not to pick these up and think these are an expensive pair of headphones. You know, the smooth aluminium. I don't have any other headphones that have this kind of cold touch aluminium that the AirPods Max do. They've got this lovely mesh, kind of woven mesh thing on the top, which is the canopy they call it. And the whole thing, you know, got these telescoping arms, which have got just enough resistance to feel satisfying, not too much to be hard to operate. The whole package feels incredibly premium. Some people have said they're too heavy. For me personally, they are reassuringly heavy. If I'm spending a lot of money on something, I like it if it's heavy. So design-wise, they feel and look expensive. You will not feel shortchanged in that department at all. Comfort-wise, the AirPods Max do something for me personally, which very few over-the-ear headphones achieve, and that is that they look half decent on my head. Now, I'm not blessed with oodles of hair, which means any over-the-ear headphones occasionally look like they're sticking out of my head. The AirPods Max sit nice and flush, and that's partly because of this canopy design, but also because the ear cups themselves aren't particularly deep. And they won't suit everyone. I think some people have mentioned that because of their weight, they find that they fall off or slip off the head when they lean forward and lean backwards. I've not experienced that personally. The whole design just seems to fit very nicely on my head, and I can wear them for hours without any fatigue. The ear pads, which are replaceable, they're very, very comfortable. They're probably the most comfortable ear pads that I own. As you know, I've got lots of different headphones in this studio, and these genuinely feel probably the most comfortable. So yeah, comfort-wise, I've been really impressed with them. No complaints there whatsoever. Sound, that's the thing that you really want to know, don't you? How do these sound? Now, it's impossible for me to demonstrate how these sound on this mic or through video. You have to pick up a pair and listen to them. If you're not an audiophile and you put a pair of AirPods Max on, you will be absolutely knocked sideways. There's no two ways about it. These are a fantastic pair of headphones. I'm not an audiophile personally, but I really appreciate good sound. I always have done. Now, before these arrived, as I say, my go-to over the ears were the Sony XM4s, which are the best sounding headphones or best consumer headphones I've ever had. My assumption with the AirPods Max would be that they would sound as good as the XM4s. And that kind of meant I was ready to be a bit underwhelmed by them, not because they would be dreadful, but because they would just sound the same as a pair of headphones that was almost half the price. That isn't the case. In my experience, and having used the XM4s day in, day out for a long, long time, these AirPods Max sound noticeably better straight away. Best way to describe the AirPods Max sound, it's very rich. There's a lot of bass, but it's not too much. It's nice and creamy. Mids are a little bit reserved, a little bit dipped, which I personally like that kind of sound profile. And the top end is very, very crisp. If you don't know much about sound, and I don't blame you if you don't, you would probably describe the sound that these make as being similar to going from HD to 4K. There's a noticeable difference, and it sounds very, very expensive. For some, it might be a little bit too top-endy, a little bit too bright, possibly, but it's not bright to the point where it's fatiguing. It's just a lovely dynamic sound. I think it's fantastic. So for normal everyday users, you will be stunned by this. I did interview an audiophile recently. I'll put a link up to the video up here. And he was actually really impressed with the AirPods Max. And this is a guy who really knows his headphones and has some very expensive high-end audiophile headphones. So even if you're an audiophile, you might be impressed by these, but they're not audiophile headphones. We have to get this straight. They're not trying to be audiophile headphones. They're trying to be expensive consumer headphones, and that's exactly how they sound. Now, they have all sorts of technology built into them. I'm not going to go into that because people have covered that ad nauseum. They also have a feature called spatial audio, which I'll probably go into in a future video, but it's basically, the best way of describing it is that you have your headphones on, and if you're watching a movie, for example, on your phone, if you turn your head away and you've got spatial audio turned on and the content is compatible with it, the sound stays here as though it's coming from here. Very weird. It's quite smart. It also has obviously a bit of a surround sound effect as well. A little bit gimmicky, if I'm honest. But if you watch a lot of movies and stuff on your iPhone or your iPad, for example, then the AirPods Max will have that additional feature, which for you could be really useful. But going back to the sound, just to cap this off, just like the design, you will not feel shortchanged with the sound that these make, because it is superb. Very quick one on the battery life. I've said before that I think once you go beyond 20 hours of rated battery life with a pair of headphones, that's completely totally fine. That is what the AirPods Max are rated at, 20 hours. They certainly stack up to that. And like all of the wireless headphones that I have here, they are just very convenient when it comes to not having to charge them very often. So yeah, no problems with that whatsoever. Now, a quick mention of the condensation issue. Now, if you've done any research on the AirPods Max at all, you'll know that there is a issue where condensation builds up behind the ear cups. These are replaceable and they magnetize, so you can very quickly take the ear pads off and then replace them. Also, in doing that, you get to see what's behind them, and you can see the driver in there. And what some people have noticed is that after a certain period of time of wearing these and using them, condensation builds up within the cup itself. Now, I've experienced this. It is a thing, 100%. However, for me, I live in the UK. The ambient temperature here isn't particularly warm at the moment, and it's for that reason it's very intermittent, and to the point where I've struggled to get B-roll for this. So there might be some B-roll of it, there may not be. I need to do more testing. I need things to get warmer to see if it's an issue. It definitely happens, 100%. You can see little specks of condensation on the plastic in here. I don't know how to feel about this. When I first saw it, I was dismayed because I suddenly thought, oh no, this is a big issue. And I thought about it a bit more, and I thought, well, maybe headphones do this, but we just can't see it. I do wonder if it's just because we can take them off and see it so easily. But it is worrying because these don't have an official waterproof rating. And the worry, obviously, with that is that condensation is going to seep into the driver and cause problems. Some people have actually experienced that already. I haven't. These still work fine. I've used them regularly and I have seen the condensation, but I'm going to do more testing. So don't worry, I will keep testing it. My thoughts about this is that these do come with warranty. They come with a year's standard Apple warranty. So if you did experience issues with the condensation, Apple will sort it out for you. They're very good like that. They've said nothing on the matter. Typical Apple, they've left it very, very quiet. It shouldn't put you off buying them. They're under warranty. If it becomes a problem which is widespread and Apple recognizes it, even that outside of warranty, they will do something about it. Apple are very, very good. The Genius Bar, all that stuff, they're fantastic when it comes to replacing things when something isn't right. So I wouldn't worry about that, and I will keep testing to see if the condensation issue is a big issue. Now, there are things that annoy me about these headphones, and it's important to mention them. I haven't mentioned it yet properly. The case. It is stupid. It's a stupid, stupid case. It's very difficult to find any redeeming feature about it. I am using it. I'm using it as intended. And by that, I mean that when I finish with the headphones, I fold them round, pop them in their little bra case, and there we go. And the reason I do that is because you can't turn the AirPods off. Apple doesn't want you to turn them off. And putting them in this case puts them into an ultra low power state. But they always look ridiculous, I think. The biggest problem with this case is that it's not a proper case. It doesn't protect the metal here, you can see here. I would never throw this in my backpack like I throw, for example, the XM4 case in there. And the other thing is, even though it does that low power thing, I wish it charged them. I know it would need to be bigger, etc., but if it followed the same lead as the AirPods Pro, which obviously you put your little earbuds into the little case and it charges them for you, if that did the same thing, I'd have a bit more respect for it. I suppose the frustrating thing with it is that as a consumer, if you're going to take these out and about with you, you're going to have to buy yourself another case because it's not adequate, and that adds to the price of the headphones overall. The other thing is the lack of an auxiliary cable. Every other pair of headphones I have in this studio, and there's about 8 pairs I think, they all come with an auxiliary cable, which means you can plug them into your device if you want to. If you want that from Apple for these AirPods Max, you have to spend $35. I'm sorry Apple, that is just obnoxious. Just include it. Why isn't it there? The other thing while I'm ranting is this. These charge via lightning cable, which is the same cable you use to charge your iPhone. And you might say, as Apple probably say, well, you've got a lightning cable for your iPhone, so what's the problem? Just use the same thing for that. The problem with that, Apple, is that you supply your MacBooks with USB-C. Everything else I have in here, apart from the iPhone and the AirPods Max and the AirPods Pro, charges via USB-C. It just makes charging them an absolute pain in the backside. The other thing with the battery, which annoys me a little bit, is that it's quite difficult to find out how much battery is left. With a lot of these other headphones that I use, they will tell you how much battery is left audibly. When you put them on your head, someone will say to you, you have 50% battery left, or you can press a button to find out. The AirPods Max, you can find out, but you have to go onto your device. You have to pull down the menu on your iPhone. You have to click on the little Bluetooth icon at the top of your Mac. It just takes far too many clicks to find out how much battery's left. And the last thing is, it doesn't bother me personally, but you can't EQ these. So Apple, typical Apple, they think they know best, and they just say, no, you have them as they are, the sound is as it is. And again, with other headphones you can. Most of the headphone manufacturers like Sony and Sennheiser give you some form of equalizer where you can tweak all the different frequencies. So if you're the sort of person that likes to play around and tweak it, that could be an issue. So in conclusion, the AirPods Max, if you are asking the question, why should you buy them? They're not for you. If you're asking the question, should you buy them? Hopefully, I've either convinced you that it's worth the money, or you've perhaps decided to pass them for now. There is a rumour that we're going to see a cheaper version of these at some stage, like a sport version or something, so it might be worth waiting until that comes along. But if I have tempted you, and you love Apple stuff, you have a bit of disposable income to play with, these are a fantastic pair of headphones and a really good buy. And there is an audience for them. You know, it's the disposable income crowd, the Apple crowd, and there's nothing wrong if you're in that boat at all. If you want to buy them, don't feel bad about it, and just enjoy them. However, if you want a slightly cheaper pair of headphones that perform just as well as these, keep watching for a link to my Sony XM4 review. I love those headphones, but in that review you'll get an idea of why I love them. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching as always, and I'll catch you in the next video.